In this video, I'll share with you how I use EEG data to compose those electronic music that I was talking about. If you remember last time, I went thoroughly through the whole research and thesis, etc. And one of the main part of this big research that I did was to establish where on the skull of the brain do we emanate specific neural oscillation, aka brainwaves or EEG, and what type of EEG do we emanate? Basically, that was the whole thing. It took many years, but because it was a big study. But when you break those down into small pieces, it becomes much more digestible. So for example, when we go through seeking information, knowledge, which we do a lot as human beings, we're sort of programmed to look for, we want to know what's going on, and whether it's gossip or scientific papers or politics, whatever. And so that is sort of an innate sort of quest that we have. Then the question was, okay, at the like a neurological level, what is it exactly happening during those? And so this research was able to identify those sort of EEG patterns. In scientific world, it's called neural oscillation or EEG, but a lot of people know it as brainwaves. And so that was the brainwaves that was mapped for this research. Now, the idea with the electronic music came upon when I realized that these specific EEGs are being emanated throughout the subjects that I had in the lab. It was like a repetition of these type of EEG data that I found. And some of them were happening at a specific moment in time when the subjects in the lab, for example, were going through this information seeking, etc. And so I picked those based on the EEG that they were emanating and also the state that they were in, and chose the ones that were positive, and based on that, then composed some electronic music, which it's only with music only. There are no words in it for one specific reason. And then after I composed it, then I tested it back and forth to see whether those musical tunes, electrical tunes, actually mimicked or guided the brainwaves towards those specific type of brainwaves that I had discovered in the lab during that specific type of information seeking or information search process of the subjects. These are all humans, by the way. So, for example, if you were to be one of the subjects in my lab, your brain would probably also show that pattern because it was sort of a pattern that I saw. So I'm going to share my screen with you because this is what I showed last week. One of the slides that I showed was just to give you an example about one of the electronic soundtrack that I composed. I called it Purpose because it was designed with the state of a collection stage of the information seeking and search process model in mind. Plenty of research in the field of information science has showed that when we seek, for example, information at the point where we think we have found the knowledge or the information or the data that we were looking for, at that point in time, in the industry or in the academic field, they call it a collection stage. But I'm sure you have experienced it in your life, where you feel you have a feeling of confidence, content, and also sense of direction, which has been identified in the field of information science. And if we combine that in the field of cognitive psychology or cognitive sciences, that same state of being of humans has been explained as a positive, excited state. And so you can actually think about it in your own life. Give an example. For example, there was something that you really, really wanted to know. Let's say you're in love with a person and you really want to know what they're up to, for example. And I'm just making this up. It's a silly example, but maybe you go on their social media. Maybe you ask friends about it. So you go through all these, information seeking and information process until the moment you find out what he or she has been up to or it is. That is the moment that hopefully, and I mean, if it's a good news, hopefully you feel a sense of confidence and direction that the quest, the thirst that you had to find that knowledge about your lover was actually, made you feel at ease. And sort of the thirst you had was quenched at that point. You were like, okay, it is as if you're really, really hungry and you go and eat and you're like, okay, I'm at peace. And whether it's a bad news or good news, that's a whole other story. But let's just pretend for a moment that you say that, okay, I found that information and I'm content with finding that information. And when we looked at it in the brain, or on the cortex of the brain, on the scalp of the brain, I should say, because EEG only measures electrical activities on the scalp. We can't go into it, at least the EEG devices that I was using. So when we looked at that state of collecting information and being at ease and confident, that is the moment that you find out about the information that you were looking for. When we look at it at the EEG level and at scalp level in the lab, we noticed that both bands of alpha as well as beta were present primarily in the left frontal lobe, which is shown here in the state to here. So you might say, well, alpha and beta band, it's a huge spectrum, because alpha band starts at 8 hertz and beta band finishes at around 30 hertz. So it's a huge range. You were right in that. The reason I put it all together in one is because this is just one slide. The whole thesis is about almost 200 pages. So we did a lot of distinguishing between these bands and the places that were, and also the stages. But for the purpose of just composing this, then we looked at just that collection stage and realized that there's a whole range of alpha and beta, and that is happening depending on the person, depending on the state that they're in, etc. And so now here comes the composition of the electronic music, is that if you know that it is this type of EEG band that you want to create or emanate in your subjects, and if you know that you want to create it within the left frontal lobe, more or less, I mean, it's not exactly there, but more or less around this area, then it becomes kind of easy because you've isolated the things that you're really, really looking for to create in the person, in the listener. And based on that, you can compose specific tunes and music and start, composing them, mashing up different tones and different loops and etc. And then once you have composed that, you can then test the listener by measuring their EEG data to see whether those tunes actually create or help emanate that type of EEG in your listener in that sense, if that makes sense. So that is basically what I did. And then once I composed those, then I tested it first on myself and then on other people both in terms of EEG and anecdotal data, and then was able to kind of, make sure that that is what was emanating from the brain in that sense when they were listening to that particular musical tunes. And so that is how this one came about. I called it purpose mainly because I felt like this moment when I was in the lab and I was both collecting EEG data from the participants as well as observing them, during the collection stage, I felt like they were in a state of hope and they were not like, confused as before, where they were looking and looking and looking for the specific information that they were looking for, and they couldn't find it. But as soon as they found it, they're like, it was like a sense of direction, a sense of release, and at the end, it was a sense of purpose. And if you think about it, when we are looking for an information, data, gossip, political, news, whatever the case may be, we're in actuality doing it because we're seeking some type of a relief. We're seeking some type of an information, some type of a hope. That's why one of the main reasons we're looking for information. And it could be anything, by the way, again, it doesn't have to be the examples that I'm bringing. You can look at it in your own life. Like, what is it that makes you feel really good when you know? What is it that when you figure out, For me, for example, a lot of times is my own research that I feel extremely exuberant and passionate and happy when I find something, when I'm doing a research, and when I figure out, for example, especially anything that has to do with quantum biology, because it's a new field and it's more or less a new field, and there's like so much to be learned there. So anytime I watch a talk or I read a paper, anything remotely related to it, it's very, very exuberating and happy. It's like a joyous feeling for me. And so this purpose .mp3 was designed with that in mind, to put the listener into that mode so that they feel like they have a purpose. They feel like, even though maybe they feel down, hopefully, when this electronic track has created that in them, then they're able to, also emanate these type of EEG waves and be in that state. So that's basically it. And so without further ado, we can actually listen to this track, and I'll, of course, link it down as well. But let's see if we can hear it out here. Oh, there we go. The sound is really bad, but I'll put a link there if you want to listen to it yourself, because especially when you use headphones, then you hear all the different tones. Because I worked a lot on this. This took me about a month to make. Again, listen to your at least the people who I tested it with told me. Okay, I think you get the gist of it. I think it's about maybe 3 minutes or so. So anyways, if you happen to listen to it, let me know, because I'm still collecting anecdotal data, how you feel. And I've also recently put this all in soundtracks. So far I have 7 tracks. And I'm going to put this on the SoundCloud cloud. I didn't feel confident enough when I composed the before to put them on SoundCloud. And at one point I put it them and then I deleted it. And then I had it on my own domain, and then, have people ask me, let me actually stop sharing. And then, so I guess now I feel a little bit more confident to, to put it at least on SoundCloud. And because I've heard good feedback from others, and it makes you feel a little bit more confident, I guess. So anyways, that's all I had for you guys. I hope you like it. And also, by the way, if anybody wants to replicate this, there's plenty of information that I'll put down in the description, and you're more than welcome to replicate it if you like. All right, take care. See you next time. Bye.